Crafty fam, it's Alex Vanover, and today in this video I'm going to teach you how to DIY your own wedding centerpiece. I know that it can be a little bit overwhelming when you're trying to decide what pieces to include in your centerpiece, how much to include in your centerpiece, and how to make it look beautiful and dynamic. So I'm going to teach you all my favorite tips, and we're going to involve a couple of principles of design to make sure that you build a beautiful, dynamic centerpiece. So let's get started. So the first step to building a beautiful centerpiece is to begin with a base. So as you can see, I am using a paper doily that I bought from Dollar Tree, but you could use a real lace doily. You could use round or square mirrors, charger plates, greenery, cuts of fabric like burlap would work as well, or even wood slices. So my friends at Arteza have provided these amazing wood slices for this video. So thank you so much, Arteza, for providing these for my viewers. But wood slices would be a beautiful base. You could either build a mat of smaller wood slices like this, or you can use larger wood slices. But the reason I really like using these is because these are real pine wood slices, but without all the work for you involved. So if you don't have access to a tree that can be cut down to make your centerpieces, or if you don't want to bother with drying and sanding the wood, because these are already dried, of course, so there's not a lot of cracking that's going to occur, and they're already relatively smooth. I'll show you later in this video that I've already painted one of these wood slices and it worked beautifully. So wood slices would be a great option, and I highly recommend these from Arteza. So the next step to building a beautiful centerpiece for your wedding is to choose your main pieces. These are going to be things like floral arrangements, mason jars, candles that are kind of on the taller side, or things like that that are going to fill up the center of your centerpiece. And I have a couple of suggestions that will help you build a beautiful, visually interesting centerpiece. So my first suggestion when choosing the main pieces for your centerpiece is to choose an odd number of items. And honestly, I would recommend either doing one main piece like this or doing three. I think any more than three gets really kind of busy, but I have a more busy aesthetic in the way that I like things, so I would choose 3 items if it were me. But I think as long as you stick with odd numbers, you'll create a beautiful, visually interesting centerpiece. And the second piece of advice that I have for you guys is to get unique. I know that you guys want your weddings to be just as unique as your amazing love story with your fiance. So make sure that you get unique with the centerpieces, or with the main pieces of your centerpiece that really represent you and your wedding. So the way that I did this and made it a little bit more unique is I took an old vintage mason jar and I painted it with Arteza's metallic pearl paint. You guys, these colors are absolutely amazing. I love the pearly finish that they all have, and they can help tie your centerpiece together. They can help tie your color palette together, and I think it's a great idea to paint any glass that you're going to be using. For example, if you're using fake flowers like I am on this piece, I could paint the bottom of this vase so that you don't see the stems of these fake flowers. So I think that that would be really, really amazing. Let me show you some of the colors that Arteza sent me. They are amazing and beautiful wedding colors that would look so beautiful any way that you want to use them. They also come in lots of trendy wedding colors, which I love as well, because colors like dusty blue and blush and things like that are kind of hard to find, but these colors through Arteza are amazing. And Arteza wants to hook you guys up. So because you are in my audience, make sure that you check the description of this video, because it's gonna have a coupon code for 10% off any purchase that you make at arteza.com. So make sure to check that out if you're interested in trying out either the wood slices or the amazing metallic pearl paints. When I was playing around with the Arteza paint, I made this beautiful canvas just to check out all the colors, and look at that amazing sheen, you guys. Is this stuff amazing or what? So this is a lot prettier than the stuff that you find at the craft store. I also love that this acrylic paint is compatible with glass, because not all acrylic paint works really well on glass, but this is just one coat of paint that was super easy to do. Basically, all I did was flip the mason jar over with the bottom side up, and I just painted kind of natural brush strokes all the way around it. If you want a cleaner line, you could use painter's tape to tape it off so that it's perfectly even, but I kind of like the freeform look a little bit better than just a clean look, but that is totally your preference. And the last tip I have for you for choosing the main pieces of your centerpiece is to choose items of varying heights, because I just think that that makes it a little more visually interesting. So as you can see, this bud vase and this mason jar are pretty close in height by themselves. So you could either replace it with something that is naturally a different height like this, or you can use these awesome mini wood slices and you can vary the heights of all of your pieces in case you're really attached to using some pieces that are naturally the same height. I just think that's a lot more visually interesting and gives your guests a lot more to look at when you're looking at centerpieces. It's kind of a basic design principle that I always try to follow whenever I'm decorating. I also used one of the wood slices that I received from Arteza, and I painted it with a sage green pearl metallic paint to use as a table number for this centerpiece. So I highly recommend that you make your table numbers really, really easy to read so that your guests know exactly where to go when it's time to find their table. But you can also make the choice to include these in the odd number of your main centerpiece pieces, or you can choose to use it in the next step, which is accent pieces. I'm using the 651 vinyl ball to make sure to roll all of my vinyl deep into the creases of the wood. Whenever you have unsanded wood, it can be really challenging to get your vinyl to stick, but I use my vinyl ball to make sure that I can really work it into all of the crevices. Your last step to making a beautiful centerpiece is to add in any accent pieces to add extra volume and to make your centerpiece look really finished. So that could be things like votive candles, fairy lights, anything small that you want to add so that the centerpiece is dimensional from any direction of the table that you're sitting. You don't want just the guests on this side of your table to have a nice view. You want everybody around 360 degrees to have a pretty view. You can play with votives of different sizes and in different arrangements. You could even add in something sweet like some little ceramic birds like this to increase visual interest. Again, this is another place where you want to get really creative and be specific for your wedding. If you don't feel like you have enough greenery, greenery would be a beautiful option. So here's what your centerpiece could look like with fairy lights. Again, when you're choosing your accent pieces, you just want to make sure that you are choosing a centerpiece that is very venue specific for your centerpiece. If you're having a barn rustic wedding, fairy lights would be beautiful, but in some other instances they may not be. So just be creative, be unique, and choose something that works really well for your wedding. You can even add strands of things like pearls or jewels if you're going for a more glamorous look, so it totally just depends on your theme. But the goal here is to add volume and make your piece visually dynamic from every single seat on the table. So make sure that you keep those factors in mind when choosing your accent pieces. Then when you think you're completely finished with your centerpiece, you want to ask yourself a couple of questions to make sure that your centerpiece is going to be just right for your wedding. First, is it either low enough that guests can talk over top of it, or is it high enough that guests can talk underneath it? You want to make sure that you don't inhibit conversation between your guests from across the table, especially if they're friends or family who don't see each other very often. Secondly, is the table number clear and easy to find? You want to make sure that your guests are not confused when they walk into your reception and they can't find where they are assigned to sit. So make sure that the font is bold enough and clear enough that everyone can read it quickly and easily. Next, are you sure that you can make enough of these for all the tables in your reception hall? In case you have a really intricate centerpiece that takes a long time to build or a lot of supplies, are you going to have enough of it for all of your tables? Make sure that you think that through before you commit to a centerpiece design so that you don't put yourself in a stressful situation. And lastly, do your centerpieces go with the rest of your decor? You want to make sure that you're sticking to a solid color scheme and a solid theme with all the rest of your decorations. So I hope if you ask yourself those questions, that's going to help you really decide if this is the perfect centerpiece for you or not. So after you choose your base, your main pieces, your accent pieces, and ask yourself the 4 last questions that I gave you, then you are done creating your wedding centerpiece. I hope these tips gave you tons of ideas and helped you create a centerpiece that you absolutely love for your big day. I also want to give another huge shout out to Arteza for sending me all of this paint and 25 medium wood slices to use in this video. You guys, I loved playing with these products and I highly recommend that you check them out for your wedding as well. So make sure that you check the description for a 10% off code to their website so that you can get all these things and be within your budget. And Arteza has a fantastic YouTube channel that I highly recommend that you check out, so I will link that in the description below. When you're finished with your centerpieces, I would love it if you would join my Facebook group so that you can post them in there so I can see them. So you can search on Facebook for Cricut Brides and Wedding Crafts, and I'll also put the URL right here on the screen so that it's easy to find for you to join. If you haven't already, please make sure that you subscribe right here to DIY Alex and ring the bell right next to subscribe so that you never miss a new upload. I hope we can craft again soon.